I wanted to do 220 dates.
So John Cena has been making some podcast rounds as he gets ready for his last match ever, his last appearance ever at Saturday night's main event this coming Saturday. But the most interesting thing about his podcast appearances was when he actually threw the WWE under the bus.
The plan originally was to do like a full year. This is just goes to show my ignorance of the business. Just take a year off of everything, hop on a bus, do a full WWE calendar, and like totally say goodbye. Thank goodness that the business isn't like that anymore. Because I would be, if you took a gingerbread man, just broke him, I'd be done. They only needed me for 36.
Cena is like the master of PR interviews, but on the podcast scene, that was the one slip up that caught my eye. Now, he's definitely also saying on this podcast, The Ringer, that the WWE was right and that he shouldn't have been working too many dates because he wouldn't have been able to do it and it wouldn't have been good on his body.
Flying from Budapest, like do all night on set in Budapest, fly to Indy, do Indy, fly back, land, drop my stuff off, go film. And like doing that until post WrestleMania, like back and forth to Morocco and Budapest and all these crazy places that weren't easy commutes. And it's just, you think you can do it. He's like, I'll sleep on the plane or whatever. You don't.
But I would like to think that the WWE and John Cena could have found a happy medium to actually be able to have a storyline for John Cena's final year ever. And I'm not even a big Cena fan by any means. But the fact is, this going away tour kind of just feels like something that we're all waiting to be over with so we can move on to hopefully bigger and better things, aka maybe some actual storylines on the show. Had Cena had more dates, maybe they could have had something more compelling for Cena to do. Now, Cena also did talk about his heel turn, which was not that didn't work out as good as everyone hoped it would. And he also talked about that too.
The heel piece was the thing. It seems like you have like small regrets about it.
Not at all.
No?
No, I have.
You don't think do you think it went perfectly, or like what would you have changed if you did it over again?
What is perfect? Here's what I do know. Perfect is never achievable. I think that's a sucker's chase. When I look back on it, could I have given any more than I did? Not a bit.
At one point, Cena said, it takes 5 years to get guys over. Regardless, if you turn them, it's going to take a year or two for it to really sink in, and I don't have the time to tell the right story. The crowd turned, so we turned, but I couldn't go all the way. I just didn't have the time. So his excuse here is that they didn't have the time to do a full heel turn. And obviously, Cena did not want to end his career as a heel in his last match. But I still think, had there been more dates, and I'm not saying Cena had to work every single date, although the thing is, Cena didn't have to wrestle at every single date. So I don't really love the excuse of it would have been bad on his body. If he in the WWE, and Cena's saying he was willing to work all the dates, if the WWE would have let him work most of the dates, not even all the dates, they could have actually built some proper storylines here. Cena didn't have to wrestle at every single event, could have cut promos, could have advanced storylines, but instead we've got something worse than a half-assed FAILwell tour. The FAILwell tour is continuing until the end of this week, where it is finally coming to an end. And he will be facing Gunther because Gunther won a tournament. That was kind of the likely obvious result. In fact, just a couple weeks ago, I called that it would be either Gunther or LA Knight when everyone else was saying it's going to be Jey Uso versus Gunther. I figured they were going to throw LA Knight a bone, but I didn't think they would probably go all the way. They're going with the heel versus Cena. And once again, I just feel like if there was a proper build to this match, it would be so much better. If they had booked Cena properly this year, if they wouldn't have tried the failed heel turn, if Cena just would have been Super Cena again, Imagine Super Cena versus a big heel like Gunther. Maybe that was the way to go. Maybe Gunther could be the one to finally put the nail in Super Cena's coffin. But instead, there's no real story going into this. Gunther just won a tournament, and now he gets to be John Cena's last opponent, where one would assume Cena would put Gunther over, because Cena also talked about on one of the podcasts about how Saturday night's main event, it's his idea, or it was his idea, where the rest of the card is going to be someone from the WWE versus someone from NXT. Obafemi just became the NXT World Champion again this past weekend at NXT Deadline, and he will now be facing World Champ Cody Rhodes. I get the idea here. We also have Sol Ruka versus Bayley. It's another card with no real story. It's just, here's some exhibition matches. I've been thinking this whole time, and sometimes talking about it here on this channel, that maybe after Cena is gone, maybe after the WWE can just stop relying on Cena to sell tickets, or Cena to sell the new ESPN app for their premium live events, maybe they will have to put in more effort for the actual storylines, but I don't really think that's the case. There's all these reports coming out that ESPN's not happy with their deal, but who knows if it's true, because I never believe it when Dave Meltzer gets involved talking about it. But even if it is true, they have all these big events booked for all these countries. Tickets are still selling for the most part, even though they are struggling to sell all the tickets for John Cena's last match show. So I don't know if that is the greatest of signs. I've also read reports that Raw's just been so good lately, and I sit here and wonder, am I out of touch? Is this why? Do I have such a differing opinion than everyone else? But I don't think that's the case. I think it's just my preference of pro wrestling is storylines and solid character work, and we are not getting the storylines. People saying Raw is good is crazy to me. Dominic Mysterio is still quite entertaining, but Judgment Day as a whole, no matter with Liv's return or not, has been stale for a very long time now. New Day has zero direction. Their heel turn seems pointless. They've gone nowhere since the heel turn. What was the whole point? The only thing that's been happening on all these Raws lately is the tournament to get John Cena's last opponent. That's not a storyline. Hate to break it to everyone, that's not a storyline. So I don't see how exactly Raw's been so good. I call bullshit on that. We'll see if things change after Cena's retirement. Will there be a creative upheaval again? I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. And the sad thing to me is that AEW is not even an alternative. They're even worse than the WWE. They have nothing going for it on a story level to me, and I don't see that changing anytime soon, because Tony Khan doesn't get it. It's been years. He's owned AEW for years. He's getting less and less people to attend his shows, and he still doesn't get it. TNA got that AMC deal, which is quite impressive, and it shows me that on television, pro wrestling is still really, really viable. And I just wish that these companies would take advantage of that. They're getting all of this TV time, and they don't want to put in the effort to make any sort of compelling television. And I'll never understand why. So I would love to sit here and have some positive hope for TNA now that they have a TV deal. But TNA will always TNA. They make some odd booking decisions constantly in their whole history. It's why they've always been left for dead by the pro wrestling media, even though they always are the little engine that could. They always keep going and going and going like the battery bunny. And here they are again, getting a TV deal. Will they take advantage of it? I have to say what I've been saying this whole video. I'll believe it when I see it. I did think NXT Deadline this past weekend was entertaining for the most part. As I said earlier, Obafemi got his championship back, defeating Ricky Saints. I think that was probably one of the best told stories of the night because of the story was basically Ricky Saints was throwing everything he could at Oba, and it just wasn't enough. And I think it was the right decision to put the title back on Oba Femi. Ricky Saints had his little run. Good for him. I don't know if it was necessarily riveting television with his run, though. I've always liked the Iron Survivor matches since they've been doing it a few years now. It really is like a sport where you get points throughout the match, and who's going to end up with the most points at the end. It adds a lot of drama when done well the last few minutes of the match, and I feel like both matches did that. The drama was high in both of those matches. I think the Iron Survivor concept is better than, say, War Games to me. And at least Izzy Dame versus Tatum Paxley had a storyline coming into that match. So sometimes NXT can really do it right. I don't really think on a weekly basis their TV shows are cohesive enough for me sometimes. But right now, in my opinion, NXT is sometimes the best alternative to WWE's main shows or AEW, period.